CCP's local debt skyrockets, U.S. media, illusory economy. Impact on China's GDP growth if the U.S. imposes a 60% tariff. Hard times, CCP departments illegally collect 250 million yuan in fees. Sensitive period of the third plenary session, Trump assassination attempt t-shirts swiftly removed. Huawei issues $139 million bonds, smartphone market plummets. A mysterious code leading to the self-destruction of the CCP.
It's all covered in today's China Truths.
CCP's local debt skyrockets, U.S. media, illusory economy. The CCP government has been heavily involved in so-called urban construction for many years. However, many of the public facilities that have been built remain largely unused. The Wall Street Journal cited Liuzhou, Guangxi as an example. In 2019, the Liuzhou government raised hundreds of billions of yuan through local financing platforms to build a new industrial zone and an elevated light rail system, which have now turned into unfinished projects. As of the end of last year, the total debt of these local financing platforms reached 210 billion yuan, approximately $19.42 billion. The report states that the total scale of implicit debt of local governments in China is close to 80 trillion yuan, approximately $11.21 trillion. Most of the projects financed through development have not generated economic benefits, making this so-called economic growth appear like a mirage. Dr. Xie Tian, a professor at the University of South Carolina's Aiken School of Business, said, "Many of China's investments are wasteful and will never generate real benefits. China has built so many high-speed railways, so many airports, so many highways, and various other projects." According to reports, at least 26 high-speed railway stations in China have not been put into use or are in a state of closure due to remote locations, insufficient supporting facilities, and low passenger flow. Mr. Wang Guochen, an assistant researcher at the Tsinghua Institution for Economic Research, said, "The investment efficiency of local debts, especially special debts and implicit urban investment debts, is obviously low. This will naturally lead to subsequent issues where the revenue cannot cover normal operational expenses, debt interest, and principal. Therefore, local debts in mainland China are a serious problem." Mr. Wang believes that with the current real estate crisis in China and the continuous decline in land transfer fees of local governments, it is even more difficult to repay the debts. Rhodium Group, a research institution, found that out of approximately 2,900 local government financing platforms evaluated in 2023, only one-fifth had enough cash to pay short-term debts and interest. Dr. Xie Tian added, "China's debt problem is significantly more serious than that of other countries. Too many defaults or bankruptcies of these enterprises could drag down the related banks. The decline in the real estate market has led to a high number of bad debts, which may cause these banks to eventually close and go bankrupt." Dr. Xia also pointed out that the excessive borrowing by local authorities, compounded by corruption within the CCP system, has led to some funds being embezzled, exacerbating the debt default factors. Impact on China's GDP growth if the U.S. imposes a 60% tariff. Earlier this year, former U.S. President Trump mentioned considering a 60% tariff on Chinese imports. On Monday, July 15, Mr. Trump's running mate, J.D. Vance, also called for broad-based tariffs on Chinese goods and urged bringing manufacturing back to the U.S. to reduce dependence on China. According to a report published by UBS economists on Monday, July 15, if Trump implements the new tariffs, China's GDP will decrease by 2.5 percentage points next year. This prediction is based on the assumptions that some trade will bypass through third countries, the CCP does not take retaliatory measures, and other countries do not join the U.S. in imposing tariffs. The shrinkage in China's economic growth rate is due to a decline in exports and a hit to consumption and investment. The UBS report points out that over time, as more exports go through other economies and production gradually shifts to other countries, the impact of the U.S. tariff hike may be reduced. However, China still faces the risk of other countries imposing additional tariffs. If the CCP takes retaliatory actions, it could exacerbate the impact of tariffs by increasing import costs. If another US-China trade war breaks out, even if tariffs are eventually lowered, the risk and uncertainty alone could cause US importers to withdraw from China. UBS currently forecasts China's economic growth rate for next year to be 4.6% and 4.2% for 2026. Analysts estimate that if Trump imposes tariffs after being elected, even if the CCP takes stimulus measures to offset the tariff impact, the growth rates for these 2 years will drop to 3%. The report notes that at that time, the CCP might take fiscal measures and adopt loose monetary policies to mitigate the sharp rise in tariffs, with funds potentially coming from issuing special bonds. The RMB might depreciate by 5% to 10%. Amid weak domestic demand, uncertain employment prospects, and a sluggish real estate sector, China's economy remains highly dependent on manufacturing and exports. Last month, China's exports saw the fastest growth in 15 months, while imports unexpectedly fell, far below economists' forecasts. As imports declined, China's trade surplus in June rose to $99.05 billion, the highest on record. Among them, China's trade surplus with the U.S. was $31.78 billion, with the EU nearly $23 billion, and with ASEAN $17 billion. The U.S. has repeatedly emphasized that the surplus is evidence of one-sided trade benefiting China. The growing imbalance has drawn criticism from trade partners and could heighten concerns about China's overcapacity. Earlier this week, ANZ senior China strategist Xing Xiaoping said in a report, with the rise of trade protectionism, the outlook for the second half of the year is unfavorable for China's export-driven economic growth. The EU has confirmed anti-subsidy tariffs of up to 37.6% on Chinese electric vehicles. Last month, Turkey announced a 40% additional tariff on Chinese electric vehicles, and Canada is considering similar measures. Meanwhile, Indonesia plans up to 200% import tariffs on Chinese textiles. India is monitoring cheap Chinese steel, with Indian steel producers calling for higher tariffs on Chinese steel products. To prevent an influx of low-end Chinese chips into the European market, the EU is consulting the semiconductor industry on China's expanded production of traditional chips, planning countermeasures in advance. Last week, the US and Mexico announced new measures to stop the CCP from exporting steel and aluminum products to the US via Mexico, further blocking cheap Chinese metals from the US market.
Hard times, CCP departments illegally collect 250 million yuan in fees. As China's economy declines, government departments are seeking new ways to generate revenue. A recent report by China's National Audit Office revealed that 4 departments, the Ministry of Transport, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Industry and Information Technology, and the State Administration for Market Regulation, illegally charged the public for accessing government data, collecting a total of 250 million yuan, approximately $34.4 million. The National Audit Office's first report of 2024 audited 41 central departments, uncovering various illegal activities. These included 3 departments charging 167 million yuan, about $23 million, for speaking opportunities and media interviews at forums, and 13 departments earning 347 million yuan, about $47.8 million, from unauthorized training sessions with social organizations. The report also revealed that 7 operational units under 4 departments, without approval, turned publicly accessible government data into paid services, collecting 248 million yuan, almost $34.1 million, through 13 data systems. For instance, the Ministry of Transport collected 145 million yuan, approximately $20 million, from 2018 to 2023, including 51.83 million yuan, about $7.1 million, in 2023 alone. The Ministry of Education collected 58.65 million yuan, about $8.1 million, the Ministry of Industry and Information Technology 24.47 million yuan, about $3.4 million, and the State Administration for Market Regulation 20.24 million yuan, almost $2.8 million, over the past 5 years. The Audit Office warned that this trend of profiting from government data is concerning and recommended prohibiting such practices to maintain the credibility of national brands. Chinese human rights lawyer Wu Xiaoping explained that government data, crucial for citizens' daily lives, is collected by various departments. Lawyers often need this data for their cases, facing various charges. Lawyer Wu said, "We frequently request access to citizens' ID and address information, real estate information, and company details from industrial and commercial departments. For example, accessing a document from an industrial and commercial department can cost 50 yuan. Charges vary widely across departments and regions." Despite the State Council's 2008 regulations on the disclosure of government information, which mandates that departments disclose information and provide it free of charge upon request, government units often exploit legal loopholes to justify overcharging. Mr. Wu noted, many documents should be free, but the CCP disregards the law. Each department seeks to maximize its benefits, exploiting any loopholes to monetize these privileges. It's easy for government agencies to impose arbitrary fees, and for ordinary people, fighting for rights over small amounts isn't worth the effort, making it difficult to supervise government actions. Departments might also avoid audits by collaborating with third-party organizations to provide paid information retrieval services. For example, paying a monthly or membership fee grants access to more business information, effectively selling citizens' data and creating opportunities for corruption. According to a recent analysis, this incident differs from past events in that the profits collected by departments are not going into officials' pockets but are being used to fund the departments themselves. This reflects an awareness among various departments in China that they need to save themselves in order to maintain operations amid financial shortfalls. The phenomenon of government departments arbitrarily overcharging to generate revenue only further erodes public trust in the government and damages the government's image.
Sensitive period of the third plenary session, Trump assassination attempt T-shirts swiftly removed. On July 13, former U.S. President Donald Trump survived an assassination attempt. Surprisingly, within just over 2 hours, Chinese e-commerce sites began selling T-shirts depicting the event. However, by the 16th, these T-shirts were taken down, coinciding with the third plenary session of the CCP. Some small business owners believe the quick removal reflects China's current economic downturn and increasing social unrest. BBC reported on July 16 that Chinese e-commerce platforms had taken down T-shirts featuring an image of Donald Trump raising his fist after the assassination attempt. The reasons for the removal are unclear. BBC suggested that due to China's strict internet controls, content deemed sensitive is often deleted. The 20th third plenary session of the CCP began on July 15 and will last 4 days. A Beijing resident told the Epoch Times that the authorities have imposed strict controls, even notifying non-petitioners to avoid entering or leaving Beijing without cause. Many analysts believe the CCP is facing both internal and external crises. Observers are pessimistic about the potential negative outcomes of the plenary session. Mainland Chinese media figure Bai Fan, a pseudonym, told the Epoch Times on the 16th that the delayed convening of the third plenary session has made it a focal point of international attention. Regarding the CCP's strict internet control, Bai Fan said, "On one hand, during the plenary session, there must be no negative comments about China's economy. On the other hand, there are still many negative news stories about the government, such as the industrial oil and edible oil blending incidents. Temporarily allowing discussions on the U.S. shooting case seems to be a diversion tactic." The shooting incident in the United States drew significant attention on the Chinese internet. Early in the morning of the 14th Beijing time, Trump assassinated became an explosive word on Weibo hot search. By noon that day, the term Trump assassinated had exceeded 300 million reads on Weibo, ranking first on the hot search list. By evening, the topic "Trump claims bullet pierced his right ear" had reached 660 million reads and 153,000 discussions, topping the hot search list for over 12 hours. However, on July 16, related terms about Trump's assassination attempt no longer appear on Weibo. The reasons for the removal are unclear.
Huawei issues $139 million bonds, smartphone market plummets. On July 11, the China Money Network announced Huawei Investment and Holdings Company Limited plans to issue 1 billion yuan, approximately $139 million, in medium-term notes, set to mature in 10 years with interest rates between 2.4% and 3%. Subscriptions will be open from July 12 to July 15, with the notes maturing on July 16, 2034. Securities Times reports that since 2022, Huawei has shifted its bond issuance from international to domestic markets, resulting in domestic liabilities surpassing foreign ones. This issuance marks Huawei's first medium-term notes of the year. Previously, the company released 3 batches of ultra-short-term financing bills in early 2020, totaling 9 billion yuan, approximately $1.24 billion. Data up to the date of the prospectus shows Huawei holding 12 active domestic medium-term notes worth 37 billion yuan, approximately $5.14 billion. Records indicate that Huawei has been actively issuing bonds, both ultra-short and medium-term, since 2019. According to Titanium Media App, industry insiders note that following U.S. sanctions in 2019, Huawei faced financial pressures, leading it to rely more on domestic bond issuances as international financing channels were blocked. Huawei's smartphone market has seen a significant decline. On July 14, a blogger who regularly updates used phone market trends reported a drastic decline in demand for the Huawei Mate 60 Pro. The market value of this model has dropped by 1 to 2,000 yuan, about $138 to $275 in just over a month. Previously a top seller, the model is now significantly less desirable. The blogger noted that the current buyback price is around 4 to 5,000 yuan, about $550 to $688, down from about 6,000 yuan, approximately $825 previously. Moreover, the market value of all other Huawei models has been declining over recent months. On July 15, another blogger stated that the price of the Huawei P70 Ultra continues to fall. Originally priced at 9,999 yuan, about $1,376, its significant price drop was unexpected, surpassing the price reductions of other top flagship smartphones. A technology enthusiast and former brand planning director reported that Huawei has lowered prices across all product lines. Consumers can now get offline vouchers offering up to 9.9 yuan off, about $1.36 for every 1,000 yuan spent, covering products such as the P70 series, Mate 60 series, Mate X5, Nova 12 series, and all related ecosystem products. A mysterious code leading to the self-destruction of the CCP. It is apparent to everyone that the CCP regime is steadily declining, especially as China's economy deteriorates, causing many people to feel disappointed in the CCP. They believe the CCP is in its historical garbage time, struggling desperately and on the verge of collapse. Why has the CCP reached this point? There are many reasons, but a key factor is a mysterious code, 720. 720 refers to July 20, specifically July 20, 1999, when former CCP leader Jiang Zemin ordered a full-scale crackdown on Falun Gong. Jiang Zemin mobilized the entire state apparatus, including law enforcement, judicial institutions, media, educational systems, and state-owned enterprises, to persecute over 100 million Falun Gong practitioners. This became the largest human rights violation and crime against humanity in history. Jiang Zemin personally ordered 3 persecution principles: financially ruin them, defame their reputations, and destroy them physically. The CCP used various illegal torture methods to persecute Falun Gong practitioners and even harvested their organs, creating a massive illegal organ transplant industry involving civilian hospitals, the military, and the police. The lucrative black market for organ harvesting expanded its targets to include ordinary citizens, such as Uyghurs, Tibetans, and even young students. Why did the CCP persecute Falun Gong? On April 25, 1999, Jiang Zemin wrote a secret letter to the senior officials of the Politburo, revealing his reasons for suppressing Falun Gong. There were two main reasons. First, the number of people practicing Falun Gong exceeded 100 million, more than the CCP's membership, making Jiang jealous and uneasy. It is said that Jiang once saw his wife practicing Falun Gong at home, which infuriated him as he questioned who would still believe in the party if everyone believed in Falun Gong. Second, the CCP promotes atheism and could not tolerate Falun Gong's spiritual beliefs. Additionally, Falun Gong's principles of truthfulness, compassion, and forbearance starkly contrasted with the CCP's nature of falsehood, evil, and struggle. The existence of truthfulness, compassion, and forbearance acted like a mirror reflecting the CCP's true nature, making the regime appear even more malevolent and violent. In short, while the CCP continues to persecute Falun Gong, it will ultimately collapse due to this persecution. Let's analyze this from four perspectives: politics, economy, military, and society. Political perspective. Jiang Zemin indulged corruption among officials to gain their support in persecuting Falun Gong. This created a situation where corruption is the norm and government integrity is non-existent. The most ruthless individuals rose to power, resulting in incompetent and corrupt governance. Economic perspective. Jiang Zemin's tolerance of corruption led to significant losses of national wealth. According to American scholar Min-Shin Pei in 2007, corruption consumed at least 3% of China's GDP, amounting to over 600 billion yuan, about $82.6 billion. The resulting incompetence exacerbated economic problems, leading to severe unemployment, deflation, and a collapsing real estate market. Military perspective. Corruption within the military, led by figures like Guo Buxiong, Su Kai-ho, and Gu Junshan, hollowed out the military's infrastructure, equipment, and logistics, significantly weakening its capabilities. This was acknowledged by Vice Chairman of the Central Military Commission He Weidong, who called for a crackdown on false combat capabilities. Societal perspective. The CCP's persecution of truthfulness, compassion, and forbearance practitioners discouraged moral behavior, leading to a society rife with malicious acts, such as revenge attacks, food safety scandals, and widespread fraud and deception. In summary, the CCP's persecution of Falun Gong has not only harmed China but also weakened its political, economic, and military strength. In effect, the CCP's efforts to suppress Falun Gong are accelerating its own downfall, demonstrating the concept of reaping what you sow. Don't forget to comment in the section below to share your opinions on today's topic with us. If you find the information helpful, please share this video with a friend to watch together. This will be a great source of motivation for our team to produce more and more quality and reliable videos. And also don't forget to like and subscribe to see more interesting topics from China Truths. Thank you for tuning in.